Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thanks so much for joining me today. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to paint this really cute little black kitten. And with these videos, I really want you to approach them as just practice and getting more comfortable with your tools, with the brushes, and with the paint. And I encourage you to do these videos a couple of times just to increase your comfort level. So with these videos, what you're gonna see is down below in the link or in the description box, you're gonna see that I have a supply kit. And in that supply kit is everything that you need to create this particular painting. Another thing that you're gonna see in this video is what I call a traceable. And a traceable is a way for you to transfer that initial image onto your panel or your canvas. So that way for first time and beginner painters, it takes out the stress of getting your composition on the canvas. So check out the traceables. There's also a video on how to transfer your traceable to your canvas or panel. So do check that out. Let's go ahead and get started. And I look forward to what you're going to create. All right, so go ahead and check out your supply kit and everything that you need and move on over to your setup. Make sure your favorite music is turned on and that you have an adult beverage if you are of age. Make sure you take your progress photos like always and keep those pictures so you can reference them later. Now, once you have your traceable transferred to your canvas or your panel, we're going to take our small pointy brush and black paint and outline everything you just transferred. Now, we're doing this as practice. It's good to get comfortable with the brush as you do this. So for my first time painters, don't stress if some of your lines are skinny and some of them are fat, or if you can even see the texture of the canvas. We will repeat this step at the beginning or at the end of the painting. So again, this is just good practice. Now when you get to the eyes, you'll notice that I actually fill in the pupil, which is kind of that football shape on this cat. And I don't fill in that little dot kind of to the top of the pupil. And that's what we call the catch light. If you do happen to fill it in with black paint, again, don't stress. We can reapply that white dot at the end of the painting. So again, this is just getting comfortable with your brush. The harder you push your brush against the canvas, the whiter and fatter the line it is. The lighter you touch your brush to the canvas, the skinnier the line it's going to make. So again, you're just practicing right now. Now take your progress photo and pause the video. And we're going to be moving into the background on this cat painting. And I am moving up to that small flat brush, and we're going to go for a really light, kind of lemony yellow color. And I'm going to fill in the entire background area. I did wait for my black paint of the outline to dry. If you are very eager and you're moving right into your background color after doing your black lines, just kind of be cautious of how close you're coming to that wet black paint, especially with this light color. If you happen to get a little black paint in with your background color, just take a paper towel and wipe it off and reapply your background color. So here I'm actually adding more yellow to the bottom of the canvas and painting right on top of that light yellow color. And this is what we call a wet on wet blending method. And I'll have you do this in quite a few of the paintings that you do with me. And it's a really kind of just therapeutic, kind of fun. You're moving wet paint into wet paint. The more you move your brush between the two shades, the more it blends together. So here, really close to the cat, you can see that I'm actually grabbing some pretty thick, straight yellow paint and using kind of the edge of my brush, so I'm not using the end of the bristles. And this kind of allows me to apply that paint a little bit thicker. So give it a try. If you feel like using your fingers to blend the paint, go right ahead. And you're going to pause the video and take your progress picture. And we're going to be moving into black paint. We do have a black cat, so it's actually going to be shades of gray, but we will be starting with black. And like I said, using that small flat brush, using little dots or almost little dash marks as I apply the paint. And I want you to notice kind of the shape that I make when I apply these sections of paint. And they are kind of just abstract shapes. If you happen to make some of the shapes bigger or smaller than what I paint, totally okay. Don't stress about that. And if you happen to go outside the lines, again, don't stress. I want you to get expressive with this. I want you to have fun. If we get a little sloppy or paint outside the lines, that's okay. We actually call that style in this world. And again, if you're holding your breath, make sure you breathe right now. You're doing just fine. I'm proud of you for even just sitting down and painting at home. It takes a lot of courage to do that. Not everybody's willing to try. So just the fact that you're trying, steps ahead of so many other people. All right, so again, we are painting a black cat with a little white chest. And to create that illusion, if we painted the whole thing black, it would just be a black blob and we'd have no definition. So after we apply our straight black, we're actually going to be moving into dark gray and even a lighter shade of gray to kind of create that illusion. So one of the things that I like to tell all my students is, you are a magician today while you create this illusion of a 3D object on a flat 2D surface. So as I'm using this kind of small flat brush, if at any point it's too much for you, maybe the bristles are too wide, feel free to move down to the small pointy brush. Most things in art are merely suggestions. If you feel like doing something different, give it a try. If you like it, keep it. If you don't, let the paint dry and paint on top of it again. And make sure you take a deep breath. You're doing a great job. And it is kind of funny to see the different stages of our paintings before they're finished. Like this guy, before we take our next progress photo, is going to actually look kind of funny with the few patches of black and the patches of the white canvas showing through. Another reason why it is good to take progress pictures. If you do have anything that is stressing you out in your life, work, relationships, friends, traffic, neighbors, anything, put it into your painting. That's why this is such a therapeutic process. It's your escape, your place away from the rest of the world. It's kind of your place to just embrace being a kid. All right, so pause the video, take one of your progress photos. And we are going to be making a dark gray neck. So I'm still using that small little pointy brush now. And I pulled some of the black aside and grabbed a little bit of white. And I am going for a pretty dark gray. Now the color that I use here may be a little bit too dark depending on your monitor or color calibration on your phone. So it may be hard to see the difference between my dark gray and my black. So if you want, you can make your dark gray a little bit lighter than what I made. But again, we are still hanging out with that dark gray because this is a black cat. And this dark gray is helping us give an illusion that this is a 3D object, or that this has some volume, some shape, and it's not just going to be a black blob on our canvas. We will create more definition and more volume when we move to our lighter shade of gray after this step. And again, using that small pointy brush, making little dots, even little dash marks, and overlapping those as I fill in the canvas space. If you happen to paint on top of your black with any of this dark gray, totally okay. In my Paint Your Pet class, some of the more difficult animals to paint are the all black animals, just given that sometimes the photographs or the pictures don't have the best lighting to see our subtle shades of dark gray to paint. So you're doing a great job. I know it may feel kind of weird as you're filling in this space and not quite sure if we're going to have definition on the cheeks or around the eyes. Don't worry, we will make that happen with some lighter gray. If you have to make your shade of dark gray once or twice, don't stress about it being the exact same shade. This is still going to look like a black cat when we're done. And with this painting and all the paintings that I teach here on YouTube, feel free to do this multiple times. You do get more comfortable the more that you practice. And after maybe you've done this painting once or twice with the realistic colors, maybe swap out colors. And instead of black, maybe you use purple. And instead of dark gray, maybe you use blue. And then when we use our light gray, maybe you use yellow or something different. And really just kind of turn this into a crazy kind of pop art painting. And feel free to utilize that traceable again. You don't have to use it just for painting. You can transfer it to a piece of paper and use your crayons or colored pencils or watercolors. Utilize your tools as often as you can. Because this, like I said at the beginning, this is your escape from the world. I do love the fact that when I paint, I forget what time it is. I forget, what I'm supposed to be doing, if anything. And it's a nice escape from the world. So still using that dark gray and the small pointy brush and filling in a good amount of our remaining canvas space. And again, if you overlap the black, totally okay. As we paint and continue to paint, maybe take a break and step 10 to 20 feet away from your painting and look at it from a distance. All right, so take your progress photo and pause the video. And now we're going to start moving into our lighter gray. I'm still using that small pointy brush. And I pulled a little bit of white aside. And I'm going to grab some of that dark gray I was just using. And even on my plate, you can see where I go from black to dark gray to now this medium gray that we're using. And it's a nice way to kind of pull that progression along on your palette in case you need to go back to any of those colors. So again, using that pointy brush, we're putting this kind of medium shade of gray on top of our other areas and even filling in some of the white spaces. But right now we're concentrating around the eye to kind of give it a bit more of a highlight, a bit more of attention to draw our eye there as we look at it. And putting a few little highlights in where those little eyebrows would be for our cat, which is just above the eye. And again, you're using your power of observation as to where I apply a color, the shape that I make with that color, and you look at that and then you apply it to yours. So don't stress or freak out if your shapes are a little bit different than what I apply. You are learning to see the world in a new way by looking at different shades, looking at different colors. And the more that you do this, the easier it becomes to see in this manner. So be kind to yourself as you're going through this process. So I'm still using that medium gray, and I am placing it on top of some of the darker shades around the eyes and underneath the nose and on a few of those little cheek areas. If your paint is still wet, feel free to start blending this color into those other shades of black and dark gray. If you're not painting super fast, or maybe you're taking a couple of days to paint this and you come back and it's already dry, don't stress about having that kind of strong line or seam in between your colors. That just kind of becomes part of the style of your painting today. If you do this again, maybe push yourself to paint a little bit faster so you can practice some of the blending. Maybe slow yourself down so that way you're forced to work with dry paint and keep it kind of in more pop art shades or more styles. But again, just paint and try different things. That's how you figure out the things that you like. Still just picking up a few little areas that I'm blending in. And now we're going to go for an even lighter gray and start putting shadows on the little white chest on our cat. And again, even though it may be a white spot on the, or white fur on this cat, to create an illusion, we do have to put a little bit of light gray to give it some shading. Same on those little white paws that this kitten has. And just using kind of little dots and making these abstract shapes with this light gray color. And put a little on the chin. And a little inside the ears. Nope. So take your progress photo, pause the video and see where those shades were added. And now we're going to add a little touch of red to that light gray. So we can make a light kind of grayish pink for the insides of the ears. Again, if you need to adjust, if you make the color on your plate and then apply it to your painting and realize that maybe it's not pink enough, feel free to adjust that color. And if you need to, you can paint on top of the black or the dark gray that we had already placed on there. It's kind of fun to see how placing the lighter color on top of the darker color plays with your eye's interpretation of your painting. Again, it goes back to being that magician of creating an interesting illusion on a flat surface. And here you can see where I am mixing a little bit with my wet paint. Now going back to black paint, this little kitten has a black nose. If you want to give your kitten a pink nose, feel free to switch out the colors. Now we're going to go back to the medium gray and give a few little highlights on that nose. So again, just keeping a light pressure. Going to go over the top of the nose. It's got a slight little curve to it to give it a little bit of a highlight. And what I just applied wasn't light enough for me. So I'm actually grabbing some white and filling in the rest of that white chest, a little bit of that chin, and some of the paws. So again, that small pointy brush, white paint, and it is blending in a little bit with that light gray that I already placed on there because my paint is still wet. So I'm able to blend. And then going back to the paws, adding the fluffy little paws on there. Don't stress if you go over some of those black lines. We will repeat that step. All right, so pause the video and take your progress photo. You're going to clean your brush and we're going to move into light blue for the eyes on this kitten. And again, you can make your eye color any shade that you like. We're going to be using light blue here, so white with a touch of blue. If you want to make your cat have green eyes, start with the yellow, add a touch of green until you get to the shade of the cat eyes that you want. And again, we're filling in that eye shape around the pupil and also leaving that catch light white. And I am just using the tip of the brush to create these small little lines. And if you happen to go over your pupil or outside the line when we do our black outlines, you can reshape that. You're doing a great job. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. And we're still using the small pointy brush, and we're going to make a really light gray with a touch of red, adding a little bit of that pinkness underneath the chin and a little bit on top of the paws, since this is a kitten. And they do tend to have some of their skin or their fleshy skin shining through. We're going to put a little bit of that light pink in the ear area as well, just sparingly. And just kind of going back and blending with a slightly clean brush. You can do that. All right, so now we're going back to the dark gray. We're going to go to those last remaining spaces around the eyes. And it's almost kind of like this shape makes a little parentheses around the eyes to the left and right of each eye. And that just kind of fills in the remaining canvas space that we had left. So again, pause the video, take another progress photo, and we're going to move into our outlines again. So small pointy brush or even your liner brush, and we're going to redo all those outlines. And I am starting around the eyes first, redoing the eye sockets. And if you need to reshape your pupil, go ahead and do that in the edges of the eyes. And take your time as you do your outlines. Breathe and relax. We are making these lines a little bit thicker than we did the first time. And we are placing black paint on top of black paint. So it may be a little bit hard to see where you're adding it, or if it's making a difference, but what it's doing is kind of cleaning up the edge lines and drawing a little bit more attention to our design, to our composition. All right, so grabbing a little bit of light gray, going back to some highlights around the eyes. And again, these are kind of going on the outside of that black line, that black eyeliner that we just did. And these little highlights are just kind of underneath the eyes, kind of where the tear duct is. And then now we're putting a little highlight underneath the nose where those two little lips kind of meet, that cute little spot on the cat's. And a little bit above the nose. So again, when we get to that point to pause the video, or even at any point pause the video and observe where I placed some of these colors. Going back to our dark gray paint. And again, we're just going to be adding more highlight values, breaking up some of the space. Oh, and actually it needs to be a little bit darker than what I just did. There we go. So just kind of reshaping areas. So if you're feeling like some of the lighter gray areas that you placed on your cat are too much, especially when you look at it from a distance, from about 10 to 20 feet away, if it's still being too bold, too much, go back to that black or that dark gray, and you can kind of paint on top of those lighter shades, break up that space, allow some of that lighter shade to kind of show between your brush strokes, and just kind of tone it back to a darker black or a darker color. This is where I want you to trust your instincts. Trust how it feels. If you are inclined to place a color somewhere, listen to that. You can always let it dry and paint on top of it if you later decide you don't like it. So here I'm still grabbing that dark gray and placing it on top of the black on the body. And you see that it breaks up the space, helps give a area of where we have an arm coming out and breaking up some of that body shape on our black cat. Again, remember to breathe. You're doing a great job. I am very proud of you for painting at home. It takes a lot of courage to paint at home, to paint by yourself, so you're doing wonderful. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. All right, so we're going to move to white paint, and we're going to kind of give little fur overlapping marks from where that white fur on the chest overlaps the black fur on our cat. So small pointy brush, black paint, light pressure as I take white paint and slightly overlap the black paint right at the edge where the two colors meet. And imagine that each brush stroke is like a little strand of fur on your cat, so you want to move your brush in the direction of the fur. And again, you can have these brush strokes overlap each other. That just kind of helps build some volume. And we're going to take some of that white, put it on the bottom of the chin of our little kitten here. Pure white paint. Small pointy brush. And we're going to put a few little dots on top of those little paws. So again, pure white paint, going back to where we placed that light gray, and we're just putting a little bit of pure white on top of that, not the entire space where we put the dark gray or the light gray, but we're just adding a bit more contrast to the eyes. And here's the white paint on the paws. Just kind of sparingly, not filling up all that light gray or that pink, but just giving the lightest point, the highlight point on these areas. All right, so pause the video, take your progress picture, and we're going to be moving into the whiskers. So you can use a silver or white Sharpie marker, or use your liner brush and white paint. Make sure you practice this on the tablecloth or scrap sheet of paper before you do it on your actual painting. And with the marker, it's just kind of like a flick of the wrist. So you don't want to hold the pen super tight, and you do want it to kind of just flow and flick out. So again, practice on a scrap sheet of paper before you go to your canvas. If you need to rotate the canvas and have it in a different position, feel free to do that. I keep this in the same position just because I am videoing this process. All right, amazing what those silver whiskers do for this black cat. Really kind of breaks up the space. Hey guys, I hope your little paintings turned out really, really cute. If you're uploading these to social media, please tag me at Paint with Lovejoy. I really want to see what you're making. I want to see what you're creating and how your progress is going. So, fill me in. Let me see how it's happening for you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. Check out the other videos, check out the future videos that I'm going to be creating, and leave comments. Let me know what you want me to create for you guys, because this is an adventure. This is a kind of a fun experience that we all get to do together. So I want you painting more and more, because we really need it in this world. So again, thank you so much for joining me and spending a few hours with me, or a half hour, or however long that you get to hang out with me. And I look forward to painting with you again. Cheers. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome so much to my studio, because I can talk. Plane pause. All right. Okay, let's try that again. Take 3. No planes in that one. That was good.